ATU Sports Corner. I'm your host, Donovan Warren, with my other hosts, Caden and Brandon. We're going to start with the NFL recap with Vikings versus the Steelers. They had the first regular season game in Ireland, with the final score being 21-24. Caden, did you watch that game?
I did watch that game. I watched a little bit of it. It was early in the morning, right at 8:30, right before I went to church. It was a big game, very exciting one. The Steelers, they had a rough fourth quarter, only put up 3 points. The Vikings were able to put up 15 in that fourth quarter. Carson Wentz put up 350 yards through the air. Overall, the Vikings made a good push. They still look okay without J.J. McCarthy, arguably even better. J.J. McCarthy had a terrible start to the season. Jordan Mason did okay on the ground. Justin Jefferson is still adapting to having a new quarterback, not Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins, someone that is able to get him the ball very reliably. So he's still adjusting to that. T.J. Hawkinson as well. This team overall, the Vikings can be good. We just haven't seen them reach that. The Steelers, they still only have one loss on the season, and they are looking very good.
Yeah, Jaylen Warren was a late scratch in this one, but Kenneth Gainwell had a massive performance in his place, over 130 total yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He was absolutely incredible, and I think this might be an indication of what the backfield might look like in the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think that they were ever super in on Jaylen Warren being the number one lead back. It felt like it was going to be a very split backfield, but I think now that split might favor Kenneth Gainwell a little bit more, and he will get the lion's share of carries going forward.
Both top wide receivers, DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson, they both had 126 yards. Both of them did a phenomenal job of showing out for their teams when they needed it most. Rodgers is doing a great job of adapting to this new offense with Mike Tomlin and showing that the Steelers can be a real competitor in the AFC this year.
Yeah, and about DK Metcalf, he did have a ton of yards, but not a ton of receptions again
Only
for him.
5 catches.
Yeah, I would like to see him get some more targets because he caught every target he had. He had 5 targets, but I would like to see a little bit more consistent targeting of him by Aaron Rodgers, because I do think he is easily the best receiver in that room and is capable of doing a lot more.
I mean, if he's getting 126 yards on just 5 catches, I mean, if you get him more usage
over
rate,
25 a
that's
catch.
what I'm saying. Like, just get him closer to 8 or 10 targets a game. That's what you would expect out of your number one wide receiver. I don't know why he's not getting that every game.
Absolutely.
Our next game is the Chargers versus the Giants, and everybody was interested in Jackson Dart with his first win against the undefeated Chargers. What do y'all think? Were y'all watching him?
Yeah, really interesting game. Jackson Dart ends up with only 111 yards passing, 54 on the ground, and a touchdown in both ways. Jackson Dart, I do like the fact that they are starting him now over Russell Wilson. I don't think that starting Russell Wilson really gave them anything, because they're not good enough to really win a lot of games this year, and he doesn't really provide anything in the future, being an aging quarterback. So I do like the decision to go to Dart. He played solid in his first game, not terribly efficient, not a ton of yards, but he got the job done. Cam Scadaboo, of course, was really good again, but sadly, Malik Neighbors, man, went down with a tragic torn ACL. You hate to see it, and that's really just going to put a damper on New York's season for the rest of the way.
I'm sure a lot of Giants fans, they're seeing flashbacks of Odell Beckham Jr. He had a terrible injury early in his career as well. Seeing flashbacks in a young wide receiver, young LSU wide receiver at that, in Malik Neighbors. Both made great pushes in their rookie year going into their second year. It's really rough to see, but this Giants team, they get a huge win against a Chargers team that was undefeated coming into this one. They were seen as a top team in the league. Justin Herbert was playing high-level football. You may even argue MVP-level football before this game. But he comes into this one, throws 2 interceptions. Doesn't look like the Herbert we had saw in other games when this Giants defense that has struggled to get going, as you just saw Dexter Lawrence getting a big scoop, almost scored. And just this Giants defense got wrong a little bit. This defensive line is honestly killer. If you look at the names on that lineup, So if they can get that together, Jackson Dart, he was quite the contrary to what they've been receiving from Russell Wilson through the passing game, as he was putting up big numbers but not getting wins. Jackson Dart comes in and gets the Giants' first win of the season. It's a bright sign for this Giants' future.
Yeah, something that really puzzled me about this game, though, is Omarion Hampton was absolutely incredible. He had 12 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown, but it's just that. He only had 12 carries in a game where Justin Herbert threw the ball 41 times and had 2 interceptions. I mean, Harbaugh has been known in the past as a coach who loves to keep the ball on the ground, and I just don't really see why that wasn't the case yesterday.
I mean, their running back, he's averaging over 10 yards a carry. You would think you would give him the ball if your running back's averaging a first down a carry. But you're just neglecting him with only 12 carries.
Yeah, and I know Najee Harris there was kind of a split backfield between him and Omarion. But, I mean, Hampton proved that he is more than capable of being the lead back on his own. You just got to give him the opportunity to continue doing what he was doing in that game, especially in a game where you only score 18 points.
TCU alum Quentin Johnson led the way receiving. He had a big day. And Ladd McConkey, he was non-existent. Only 6 targets, 1 reception for 11 yards. Ladd McConkey has been go-to option, just consistent every game. This game did not have it. I guess this Giants defense figured him out early. Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson both still had big days, but Ladd McConkey was a big decider in this one.
Our next game was a wild one with the Packers versus the Cowboys. It ended in a tie. Caden, how do you feel about that Cowboys tie?
You know, as a Cowboys fan, I can't even say I'm mad. With a tie, I don't want to see any game end in a tie personally, no matter who I'm a fan of. I don't think the tie should be in the game, in my opinion. This is the first tie since December 4th of 2022. It's been coming up on 3 years since the last time we had a tie. We had one last night. The offenses scored 37 points each in the regulation, and they both can only muster up a field goal in 10 minutes of play. They just got tired, just like the Cowboys did last time they went to OT. This is just, I mean, I don't know. I think that OT and going in the tie should be frowned upon. I think they should move away from that and just have an outright winner, because football, besides like hockey, is the only sport that really does this. That's a major sport. Baseball doesn't do it. Basketball doesn't do it. So why is football still implementing this? They should go to college football where they have the 2-point conversion to go to it. I don't know. I think this is just sloppy, and I think, honestly, the Packers should have won this one.
Yeah, speaking of should have won this one, we can do about the think pieces on overtime another day, but I want to talk about Matt LaFleur in this game because he absolutely sabotaged this game, to be quite frank with you. Jordan Love was absolutely dealing in this game. He threw for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was incredible throughout the whole way, and I know we were missing 3 offensive linemen, particularly on the right side is where they were, and Matt LaFleur continues to run the ball to the right side of the field. What are we doing? These guys have proven that they cannot block consistently on that side. They proved that they cannot hold up. And we continue to run off the right tackle, off the right guard, off the right side of the center. I don't understand. And then we go into overtime, and what are we doing? We're running slow developing screenplays to Matthew Golden where there's no O-lineman blocking for him. We're running swing passes to Emmanuel Wilson, and we almost run out of time and lose the game. Thankfully, the ball landed on the ground with just 1 second left. But, I mean, that was just an absolutely embarrassing performance. 2 weeks in a row where Matt LaFleur, I feel like, has really been terrible play calling wise, just entirely too conservative the whole way through. I'm starting to get concerned. I'm glad the Packers are going into a bye.
I think this game overall for both teams definitely could have went better. George Pickens had a beautiful game. So did Romeo Doubs. Them two combined had 5 touchdowns. Doubs with 3, Pickens with 2. Pickens has shown that he could be a wide receiver 1. He's entering free agency after this year. It's kind of scary for Cowboys fans with the idea that he might leave. CeeDee Lamb's out, though, and we're still able to put up 40 points. I think it looks pretty good. On the Packers side, Josh Jacobs led in rushing and receiving, and Josh Jacobs isn't necessarily a receiving back at all. So for him to be leading in receiving is kind of worrisome, but at the end of the day, Jordan Love still put up 337 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and again, Josh Jacobs, why does he lead the team in receiving? Because it's check downs, it's swing passes, it's running back screens. We ran a running back screen to Chris Brooks late in this game. Chris Brooks is the 3rd string running back. Really, he's normally the 4th string, but the normal 2nd stringer is injured, Matthew Lloyd. I I don't get it, man. I don't understand what Matt LaFleur is doing.
When I saw at the beginning of the game when they hit that deep ball to Golden, y'all had 2 receivers down there wide open. When y'all hit that 46-yard pass on like the 3rd play of the game, I was like, there's no chance the Cowboys.
And that's what Jordan Love does best. He's best when he's stretching the ball
Yes.
downfield, throwing the deep ball, especially with Matthew Golden, who's such a great, speedy, downfield, deep threat receiver. That's what he was in Texas. That's what he's shown he's best at in his short time in the league. And we don't utilize it. I don't understand.
I feel like it's almost if whenever Love was just getting his role, he was more likely to take a risk because he wasn't necessarily playing for nothing. The Packers weren't expected of anything. He wasn't playing for a contract or on a big contract. He was out there just chucking it. Like I remember in that first year in the playoffs, he threw some crazy interceptions just because he was just
We don't need to
throwing
talk
it.
about that.
But I would rather see him be willing to throw it downfield than to be kind of cautious and have just checkdowns.
Absolutely.
That'll be all that we have for the NFL recap, but we're now going to go to break. When we come back, I will be back with the Monday Night Football predictions.
Every 36 seconds, a vehicle is stolen in the United States. Cars are an important investment, and you have the power to protect it. Remove valuables from your car or place out of view. Roll up your windows completely. Don't leave your car running while unattended, especially during the winter. And always lock your doors and take your keys or fob with you. If you know something about a vehicle theft, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB.
This is a public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Everyone tells you to think about the future, but strength, knowledge, and wisdom are what you build along the way. There's power in the process. We value this moment because at ATU, you write your own script to what comes next. So here's your cue. Right here, right where you are. Focus on the now, because our focus is on your success.
We are back with our Monday Night Football predictions. Our first game at 6:15 tonight is the Jets versus the Dolphins. Both of them need a win tonight, with both of them being 0-3. What do y'all think about that?
I think that these two teams are playing pretty ugly football. I will give the Jets a little bit more of a pass because they have played closer games and Justin Fields was injured. But I do think that for the Miami Dolphins, Tua just has to be better. Already at 4 interceptions for the season, and they haven't even played a 4th game yet. The offense in general has been held back by Tua so far. I feel like Tyreek Hill hasn't been himself. He hasn't had as many targets, as many receptions, as many downfield opportunities because Tua has really struggled in that aspect of the game. Jalen Waddle as well hasn't been all that great. Devon Achane hasn't been able to get it going on the ground. He's been good as a receiving back. And, Darren Waller's on this team. You wouldn't know it by watching them. It's just the passing game is not very good right now.
Yeah, Darren Waller came out of his rap career to come back and play for the 0-3 Dolphins right now. Tonight is a must-win for them, but I am going to take the Jets to win this one. Is Justin Fields back tonight?
I believe so.
If Fields is back, that makes me feel even better. Tyrod Taylor wasn't playing bad in his time playing quarterback. Their 3 losses really weren't bad if you've watched the games. The Jets have played really good football, in my opinion. But they've just come out on the rough side on all 3 of them. But against this Dolphins team that has just struggled to have continuity, struggled to look like a brought-together team under Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's made some questionable comments about this team overall. And Tyreek Hill, only 15 receptions through 3 games. That's 5 receptions a pop per game. But, for Tyreek Hill, you're wanting a higher usage rate, especially for one of the top receivers. He used to be averaging, I'm sure, close to 10 receptions a game just because of getting him involved in the flats, getting him involved in screens, any way you can just to get the ball in his hands because of how fast he is. Jalen Waddle has been non-existent in my opinion, so has Darren Waller. Achane has been a bright spot, but that's all you really have because Tua has been struggling.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one, Caden. I'm also going to take the Jets even though they are underdogs, and I just have no faith in the Dolphins right now, to be quite honest with you. It feels like Mike McDaniel is maybe even disinterested in the team at this point, which sounds crazy to say because he's like such the energetic, loud personality. But I don't feel any enthusiasm watching this team, and it feels like the team feels that same way as well. There's not much hope in Miami right now, and I think that's going to continue. I think Justin Fields will have a solid game in this one. I am higher on him than most. I think Breece Hall will combine with him to have a solid ground game in this one, and I think that will be enough to get the job done for New York.
I think McDaniel has definitely lost the locker room. I feel like no one in there is believing in him or even Tua anymore. I feel like they're all feeling like they're playing non-winning football and they know it. And then on the Jets, they're also 0-3, but I feel like there's hope in that locker room for something to get there, especially with Fields back.
It's two very different feeling 0-3s, I will say. It feels like the Jets, you lose your quarterback for a game. You played an absolute thriller in week 1. Yeah. It feels like you should be maybe 1-2. For the Dolphins, it feels like you should be 0-8, and you haven't even played a 4th game yet.
Yeah. And then also, so with this big wide receiver matchup tonight between Garrett Wilson and Tyreek Hill, who are you going to take to have the bigger night?
I guess I'll take Garrett Wilson just simply because he's not going to have Sauce Gardner covering him.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner, one of the best corners in the league, arguably the best, and I think he's going to slow down Tyreek Hill. Also, I think that Tyreek Hill has tougher options to compete with.
Yeah.
Achane and Waddle are better than any receiving option the Jets have.
I'd agree with that. I think Wilson is a unit. He's been a unit since he was at Ohio State, and I think he will dominate tonight against this Dolphins defense, who has been pretty lackluster so far. Once they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick, they traded away Jalen Ramsey, but he hasn't made too much of an impact so far. But we'll see if this Dolphins team can get it going tonight.
Our next game is at 7:15 tonight with the Bengals versus the Broncos. And Bengals fans are a little bit worried because Joe Burrow is still injured with this game. What do y'all think? Or what are y'all predictions for this?
I think even though the Bengals are worried, they still have a better record than this Broncos team right now, and the Broncos are 7.5-point favorites. Nonetheless, I am going to take the Denver Broncos just purely because they have Sean Payton coaching them. They have Bo Nix, who is a proven quarterback so far. In his first year, he's had a little bit of a sophomore slump, but this team is still very good. They can still compete at a very high level. J.K. Dobbins has ran the ball pretty well this year, and Cortland Sutton is still a proven wide receiver 1 in my opinion. And this Bengals team with Jake Browning, I just don't think they're going to be able to compete against high-caliber teams like the Broncos. Even though they're below 500 right now, I think the Broncos get right back at 2-2 tonight.
Yeah, speaking of Jake Browning, he's played about a game and a half, and he has 5 interceptions.
That's ridiculous.
Can't happen at all. But, if you are Jake Browning and you want to make an adjustment, here's an adjustment from last week. Throw the ball to Jamar Chase. I think he got like 2 or 3 targets last week, and he is so obviously the best player on this offense, on this team. He's, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the league, and I think that is the consensus opinion. He's so good, and he's so good at routes that are very easy for a quarterback to throw no matter your skill level. He's very good underneath. He's very good at go routes. He's very good coming across the middle. He's great, man. Try to get that guy the ball. Chase Brown, I do think, will have to deal with a lot of stacked boxes tonight, so I am not anticipating a big game for him. But one concern about Jamar Chase, he's probably going to be covered a lot by Pat Surtain. But I don't expect him to be shadowed by Pat Surtain because I think Surtain's going to spend a lot of time covering T. Higgins as well because T. Higgins obviously is also a very high-level receiver himself. But at the end of the day, I'm going to roll with the Broncos. I think that defense is very good. I think their offense is good enough. I think that one interesting thing to me about the Broncos so far has been the distribution of the ball by Bo Nix.
Yeah.
We saw games where Cortland Sutton was the main target. We saw a game where Troy Franklin was the main target. We even saw a game where Marvin Mims was the main target. And we saw games where J.K. Dobbins had big games on the ground. So that'll be the thing to watch for me is who gets the ball the most for them.
What I didn't know until I just checked these stats right here is that Chase Brown only has 93 rushing yards this year. And that's pretty lackluster. I know he's a receiving back and they get it to him through the air, but for him to be a sub-100-yard running back right now is pretty concerning, especially since J.K. Dobbins on the other side has 222 yards total. I think the run game is going to be what wins it for the Broncos tonight, especially at home at Mile High. I think this Broncos team is good, especially coached by Sean Payton. I'm a Bo Nix believer, and I don't think there's a way to lose this one. But with the Bengals, if they lose this one and fall to 2-2, do you think there's a universe where with Burrow being out for an extended time that they try to market off Trey Hendrickson?
That's tough to say. I think that they're more in the idea of trying to find a solution at quarterback rather than trying to just completely give up on the season. I know there were some rumors that they offered for some guys like Malik Willis and other backup quarterbacks around the league whenever Joe Burrow first got hurt, which, first of all, that's really concerning about Joe Burrow's health in the first place. But I don't think that they are prepared to just completely tear it down. I think they have too much money invested into this team right now. But as for what the Bengals would need to win this, I mean, you said Chase Brown had 93 yards on the year. He might need to double that just for them to stay in this one.
Just because, I mean, this roster is good. Whenever they have Joe Burrow, this is a top-tier team. This is a team that went to the Super Bowl just a few years ago. So I think if they win this one, I think they're still a competitor.
That's all we have for tonight's game, so definitely watch those games. We're now going to go off to break, and when we come back, we're going to do college football pick'em.
You may feel alone.
You aren't. Because we
Didn't stay quiet.
I am a businesswoman.
Survivor.
Survivor. Survivor.
And we won't stay quiet.
We're back with our college football pick'em. As of right now, they both have 2 points each in the competition. Our first game is Vanderbilt versus Alabama. Everybody is wondering, can Alabama get revenge on Vanderbilt? What do y'all think?
I personally think they won't. I am a big Diego Pavia believer. I absolutely love Pavia. I think he's a Heisman candidate once again this year. This Vanderbilt team has shown that they can compete at a very high level again this year. Last year they kind of tailed off near the end, but I still think they can compete at a high level. Pavia already has 1,200 yards on the season, accompanied with 13 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. And he's also their leading rusher. So, I mean, if they want to beat Bama, they'll have to have one of their running backs actually step up and run the ball pretty good. But Stellers has been a really good receiver with 300 yards so far through the air. I think this Vanderbilt team can compete. I really like Ty Simpson as well, but I just think Vanderbilt has too much.
Yeah, I do think that they can compete, but I do think that Alabama's going to have a fire in their chest in this game. I think they were absolutely embarrassed by that loss last year, and I think they're going to come out with fire in their chest and come out and want to win this game badly. I think they got caught napping last year, and I don't think that will be the case. Like you said, the running game can be a bit of a concern for Vandy, and with this uber-talented Alabama defense, I think that they will be able to shut down the ground game. And because of that, they'll be able to hold off Diego Pavia just enough with that home crowd to get the job done.
Our next game is Virginia versus Louisville. And everybody is wondering if Virginia, coming off that major upset against Florida State, wondering if they can beat Louisville, who are undefeated at the moment. Do y'all think they can beat Louisville?
I think they can. I don't really think they will. I think that last week might have been a little bit of a fluke. I think Chandler Morris had probably the best game of his entire career, and I don't know if that's sustainable. I think that Florida State got caught napping a little bit, and I think Louisville, with Brown on the ground being one of the better running backs in college football, in my opinion, and the USC transfer at quarterback in Miller Moss will be enough to hold off the Hoos at home.
I really like Miller Moss whenever he was at USC. He's kind of gotten off to a slow start this year at Louisville, even though they do have a really good record. He is at 5 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. But I think Chandler Morris and this Virginia team, I think they could be legit, especially in this ACC. I think that win last week against Florida State proves something that they can compete at a high level. It was at home. The fans clearly love the team. They think they can compete at a high level. And I think this Cavalier team can have something to prove in the ACC and potentially make a push.
Our last game is Miami versus Florida State, and Florida State fans are wondering, can they bounce back after the game against Virginia? What do y'all think?
I personally don't think so. I think Carson Beck is having an amazing season. I think he is one of the, if not the best quarterback in college football so far this season. He was always really good at Georgia, but it seems like this year at Miami, he's just taken it to another level. I think this Miami team is complete all around. I think they've showed that they can compete at a very high level. And this Florida State team, they took a rough loss to Virginia, but I still think they're very talented, and I still think they can compete at a high level, but I don't know if they'll be able to beat the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. Carson Beck is just playing at a super high level, and I think this Miami team is very complete. I think they have a real chance to compete for a national title this year. They have a lot of weapons for Carson Beck. Carson Beck, of course, is playing at a very high level for them, and I think that will continue in this one. But for Florida State, I am very encouraged by what they've shown. I think the big key for Miami will be slowing down the Florida State run game. Castellanos is great both through the air and on the ground. Gavin Sawchuk is one of the better running backs in the country, and I think if they can limit those guys really at all, I think they will get the job done. They just have to not get absolutely bulldozed on the ground.
This line has been moving, which is kind of suspect if you're picking Miami. It started at 6.5 and it's moved all the way down to 4.5. What do you think that could be from?
I think people just believe that Florida State is going to want to really come out hard, wanting to bounce back, and I do think that is the case, but I just think Miami is a really, really high-level team. I think they are a little bit underrated by Vegas, and I think they'll show that.
I think playing at Doak Campbell Stadium is never easy. The Florida State fans, they are electric. Playing there is always fun to watch. I think they'll give Miami a run for their money, but I still think the Hurricanes will be the best team in Florida after this weekend.
Now on to our underdog of the week. What is y'all's picks for the underdog of the week, Brandon?
Well, Caden, you just brought up a place that's really tough to play. Here's another tough place to play is Nebraska, but I've got them losing at home to Michigan State. I'm a big fan of their quarterback, Aiden Childs. He's a great dual-threat quarterback. He's thrown for over 800 yards in just 4 games this year, and he's also very, very good on the ground, and they play a type of style of play that is very conducive to tough, close games, no matter where they play it. Defense travels, run games travel, and they have both of those. And I think that will be enough to get the job done in Lincoln Memorial. And I believe that Aiden Childs is good enough, and I think he's the better quarterback in this game, as much hype as Dylan Raiola gets, and they'll get the job done on the road.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to you on that. I actually think Aiden Childs is a great quarterback. He's not just great in the air, but he's great on the ground. But for my pick, I am gonna go with Bill Belichick and his Tar Heels. They've gotten off to a really rough start. They've taken some really bad losses, but so is the team they're playing. They're playing the Clemson Tigers, who are also coached by a phenomenal coach in Dabo Swinney. But I just think North Carolina at home, I think they're eventually going to get it going. A team coached by Bill Belichick is bound for success. They're bound to get it going, even with a slow start. This is very new. This is some adaptation for Belichick. But I think he gets it going this week against a Swinney team that is pretty unusual. Usually his teams are pretty well put together, and they can usually put together some good seasons. But this year, Cade Klubnik has not been the quarterback he was expected to be, and I think North Carolina can pick up a huge win in the ACC this weekend.
I think it's very bold to bet on either of these teams right now.
If I was betting, I wouldn't bet on it, but just for this pick, I think North Carolina, Gio Lopez, he's bound to have a good game. This North Carolina team, I just think they're bound for success eventually when you have Bill Belichick leading the way.
I'm not so sure.
That's fair.
That's all we have for the ATU Sports Corner this week. I want to thank y'all for watching, and tune in next Monday for us for our show.